So now comes, after that stick, Blinken the carrot arrives. The question, and I ask this emphatically with the media's presence, will President Bongbong Marcos replace Taiwan's President Tsai Ing-wen as the American poster boy in East Asia?
Asia and the world is safer now. The Philippines, China, and the U.S. The Philippines has been used by the United States for many decades now as a cohort to the U.S. imperialist wars in Asia, from the Korean War to the Vietnam War. President Ferdinand Edralin Marcos Sr. gradually broke the dependency relations with the United States, culminating in the opening up to the socialist states and the establishment of diplomatic relations with the People's Republic of China in 1975. 11 years passed since 1975, since the Philippine-China Entente. The U.S. ousted Marcos Sr. in a 1986 regime change. The return with Cory to the neo-colonial status survived 30 years until 2016, when the Filipino nation voted President Rodrigo R. Duterte, who thereupon declared, quote-unquote, separation from the United States. Succeeding Duterte is President Marcos Jr., Ferdinand Romualdez Marcos Jr., who has declared China as the country's, quote-unquote, strongest partner. China in the past decade has been passive in the face of U.S. pressure and intimidation. From containment by 800 U.S. military bases ringing its periphery, the U.S. pivot to Asia, shifting 60% of its military forces to Asia, the slanders on the 1989 Tiananmen events, for Taiwan Straits crisis, and the 2019 Hong Kong democracy riots, the Xinjiang genocide lie, and the trade war disruption. This has changed.
What is curious is that a few days after the Pelosi fiasco, Secretary of State Antony Blinken quickened to Manila. This is ominous, because while virtually sending a white flag to China on Taiwan, the U.S. moves forward for the next round of provocations, this time to use the Philippines. This is not as innocent as it looks. The stick has been delivered in advance. Remember that before the change of government from Duterte to Marcos Jr., a threat of sanctions by the U.S. was conveyed by Ambassador Babes Romualdez. Should the Philippines continue to buy 16 Russian military transport helicopters? Former Philippine Defense Secretary Delfin Lorenzana said, 12.7 billion pesos deal to acquire the Mi-17 helicopters have been canceled despite a 2 billion down payment. So now comes, after that stick, Blinken the carrot arrives. The question, and I ask this emphatically with the media's presence, will President Bongbong Marcos replace Taiwan's President Tsai Ing-wen as the American poster boy in East Asia? Our president will definitely confirm that if he visits the United States next month, even if it were polished, as coinciding with a visit to the United Nations, would be an initiation of Bongbong into the perilous world of hegemony. Meanwhile, I do not agree to join patrols with the U.S. Coast Guard in the South China Seas and suggestions of an expanded pact. What I wish to pursue is Bongbong's statement that our ties with the Americans must evolve. But I wish to add, evolve onto abrogation. All this talk about Philippines having an independent foreign policy is a farce and a lot of horse packing. With the Mutual Defense Treaty, the Visiting Forces Agreement, the Enhanced Defense Cooperation Agreement, and the 2016 ruling of the Permanent Court of Arbitration, our dice is loaded in favor of the United States and in the disfavor of our genuine national interests. They are swords hanging over our head and the heads of our national security. They are magnets for China's Dongfeng missiles. A few days before his inauguration, as Ka Mentong mentioned, Bongbong declared China as our strongest partner. Now the president is he engaging in double speak? What I'm saying is, beyond words, let our actions mean what we say. Clearly, concisely, as Duterte would deliver it.
Being the third highest public official of the United States, who recently visited Taiwan despite strong opposition from the People's Republic of China and the Chinese people, only signals the further weakening and deterioration of U.S.-China relations. The visit of Pelosi is a serious violation of the One China principle and the provision of the three China-U.S. joint communiques. Accordingly, the visit of Pelosi has a severe impact on the foundation of China-U.S. relations and seriously undermines China's sovereignty and territorial integrity. It gravely undermines peace and stability in the Taiwan Strait and sends a serious wrong signal to the separatist forces in Taiwan. The One China policy, we have to remember, clearly states that there is only one sovereign state under the name China, with the People's Republic of China serving as the sole legitimate government of that China, and Taiwan is a part of China. This is one of the basic norms of governing international relations after the Second World War, and one of the bedrocks, I think, of international law. The One China principle is recognized by 181 countries, including the United States, while Taiwan's so-called quest for independence is recognized by less than 24 countries across the globe. The PRC has been recognized by the United Nations and across the world as the sole legal government representing the entire Chinese people. This is, I think, the glaring fact that Pelosi her company disregarded and disrespected when she landed in Taiwan last Tuesday night. Again, this is definitely signals the further deterioration of China-U.S. relations. To add, the problem with the United States is that they say one thing and do another thing. They have this deliberate practice of what you call strategic ambiguity, also known as a policy of strategic uncertainty, of being intentionally ambiguous on certain aspects of U.S. foreign policy that suit their geostrategic and hegemonic interests at the expense of another country or at the expense of the world. In short, U.S. foreign policy toward the Taiwan issue vis-a-vis China or vis-a-vis the One China principle is akin to a two-faced foreign policy loaded with double standards. Indeed, the recent visit of Pelosi to Taiwan has no doubt put the Taiwan Strait in a new round of tensions and severe challenges. Such an irresponsible move on the part of Pelosi, the Taiwan authorities, and even the U.S. government deserves condemnation, for it puts the whole world on the brink of another world war. On the part of the Philippines, it is a positive note that as a country, we adhere to the One China principle, which is one of the foundation of our bilateral relation with China.